It's officially week 1 of the 2022 NFL season, and that means that your waivers are probably running this Wednesday. So I have a list of 5 players to add this week in my order of priority. One quick note, I will be referencing rostership percentages in this video, and those are coming from roster data from 1,700 real Dynasty leagues on myfantasyleague.com. Basically a 50-50 split of one quarterback and Superflex, all with a minimum of 20-man rosters. So I'm not pulling these players out of nowhere. It is possible that some or all of these guys are already rostered in your leagues, perhaps even by you. But for the most part, there are hundreds of leagues out there right now where these guys can be found on waiver wires. First and foremost, I want to highlight a couple of players that are highly rostered but are not 100% rostered that I think should be. And those are Tyler Huntley and Geno Smith in Superflex leagues, Mark Ingram, Eno Benjamin, Gus Edwards, Jeff Wilson, Dearness Johnson, Raheem Mostert, Isaiah McKenzie, Zay Jones, Sterling Shepard, Paris Campbell, Robert Tonyan, and Gerald Everett. Again, all guys rostered in over 90% of Dynasty leagues, but not 100%. So double check your waivers and immediately add any of these guys if they are available. All right, first up on my list of players to add, my biggest waiver wire add, if he's available right now for week 1, is Raiders running back Ameer Abdullah, currently available in 25% of Dynasty leagues. And Abdullah is currently slated as the Raiders RB3 behind Josh Jacobs and Zamir White, but he has been reported to be sliding into the James White role in the new Josh McDaniels offense. This report also makes a ton of sense when you consider that the Raiders just cut Kenyon Drake, who's now on the Baltimore Ravens, and that leaves Ameer Abdullah as the only real pass-catching specialist on this team. Did you know that last year from weeks 1 through 11, before he got hurt, that Kenyon Drake was the RB31 in fantasy, averaging over 9.5 fantasy points per game? And that was in a part-time role as Josh Jacobs was the primary running back on this team, but Drake was surviving for fantasy because he averaged almost 3 receptions per game, including 3 games with 5 or more receptions, and that's on top of the 6 to 8 carries that he was getting on a weekly basis. RB31 for over half the season. That's a valuable asset to have in case you need a spot start at any point throughout the year, and that's what Ameer Abdullah can do if he's just Kenyon Drake from last year, let alone if he actually takes on a James White role and sees over 70 targets this season. And the Raiders might need him to do that considering their schedule, the division that they play in. If they want to stay competitive, they may need to throw it 40 times a game. So Abdullah is a great addition to the back end of your roster right now as a potential weekly flex play at any point during the season. Up next, we have another running back, and I'll be honest, all of these guys are running backs, but the next guy is Giants running back Matt Breida, available in 35% of Superflex Dynasty leagues out there. Breida is the primary backup to Saquon Barkley right now, who we've seen miss significant time over the last 2 years with injuries. Now, I am on Team Saquon for 2022 and believe that he's in for a magnificent return to 2018 rookie form, but just in case, I'm adding Matt Breida to all of my Dynasty teams in case Saquon does get hurt and Matt Breida becomes the guy. We've seen games of solid fantasy production from Matt Breida when given the opportunity, with 9 double-digit top 30 running back weeks out of the 15 games that he's had in his career with at least 12 carries. I get that he's not a great running back. I get that. But neither was Devontae Booker, and we had an entire month of top 20 fantasy production from him last year on this same team for Saquon Barkley. Breida is the only other relevant name behind Saquon right now in this Giants backfield, and he will get opportunity if Saquon Barkley misses time, and that's a player that's worth adding to your roster right now. And if you want more of an argument for Matt Breida, you can check out this video right up here. I'll leave a card where I made an argument to pick up Matt Breida just a couple weeks ago as well. Next up is Falcons running back Damian Williams, who's available in 28% of Dynasty leagues. And I think it's possible that we see Williams play a Mike Davis role in this offense as the main running back. Cordell Patterson gets moved around the offense a lot as more of a receiving weapon than a running back, because right now the Falcons wide receiver 2 is either Bryan Edwards or Olamide Zaccheaus. So yeah, they're probably going to need Cordell Patterson and Damian Williams out on the field at the same time. If that's the case, Williams could get a pretty healthy workload as Davis has left behind almost 200 opportunities from last year. And again, I get that Williams is not the most talented back, but like Breida, he's also shown flashes of fantasy production in his career, including 2 top 24 weeks last year, spelling David Montgomery, and even a handful of 100-yard rushing weeks with the Kansas City Chiefs in 2018 and 2019. I like Tyler Algier a lot, but he's also a 5th-round rookie who needs to get acclimated to the NFL and this offense first. Remember, Williams was the guy after David Montgomery got hurt last year, and it was only because Damian Williams got hurt that the rookie Khalil Herbert got his shot to start. So the same thing can happen here in Atlanta with the Falcons. Not to mention the possibility that maybe Cordell Patterson really was a one-year wonder and he's just not as effective as he was last year, now at 31 years old, which could mean even more opportunity or perhaps even more consistent opportunity for Damian Williams on a weekly basis. All in all, there's too much potential upside for him to be sitting on your waiver wire right now, and he needs to be picked up. Let's go back to another running back like Amir Abdullah, who could also take a James White role in their offense, literally, because it's Patriots running back Ty Montgomery, available in 70% of Dynasty leagues right now. And throughout all of training camp and preseason, Montgomery has been the favorite to be the primary pass catcher in the Patriots offense, and we've seen the Patriots just generally have a willingness to rotate up to 3 running backs per game. Montgomery is hurt right now with an ankle injury from the final preseason game, but he wasn't put on the short-term IR, meaning that the Patriots believe he should be available to play either this week or next week in week 2. I'm willing to add him right now just to see what happens in this Patriots backfield, and if Ramondre Stevenson ends up forcing Ty Montgomery to the bench, then that just makes him an easy cut at some point throughout the year. And finally, our last player is Colts running back Deion Jackson, available in almost 90% of Dynasty leagues. And honestly, some of you may never even have heard of Deion Jackson, but as of right now, I think he is potentially the next Dearness Johnson. The Colts right now only have 3 running backs on their active roster and only 1 other running back on their practice squad. It's Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines, and Deion Jackson. And I know no one wants to think about the possibility that Jonathan Taylor might miss time this year, but if he did, I think it's Deion Jackson who gets the early down work, and they keep Hines as the primary pass catching weapon, just like what the Browns did with Kareem Hunt and Dearness Johnson when Nick Chubb got hurt. For those of you that don't know, Jackson is a solid 5'11", 218-pound running back who ran a 4.41 40, and he's entering his 2nd season in the NFL out of Duke, where he was a pretty solid 1A on that Duke team and showcased a 3-down skill set. And the fact that he's remained the only other running back on this Colts team behind Taylor and Hines, I think speaks volumes about what the team believes in him, because they could have just easily claimed any number of other backs that were cut last week, like Marlon Mack, Tevin Coleman, Kenyon Drake, or even Sony Michel, but they decided to stay put with Jackson as their RB3, and I'm willing to roster him just to see what plays out over the course of the season, if that is actually the case and he does get the early down work, should Jonathan Taylor actually end up missing any time. But of course, at this time, you're probably wondering who should you drop to even add these guys in the first place. So let me give you guys a couple of names that I'm willing to cut right now to make room for these 5 players. And that includes Mike Davis, Jalen Reagor, Marquez Callaway, Cedric Wilson, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, Dyami Brown, Nelson Aguilar, Quez Watkins, Tyler Johnson, and then basically like every tight end not valued inside the top 24. So it's guys like Hunter Long, Adam Troutman, Tyler Conklin, Noah Gray, Kylan Granson, all guys like that. If you've been holding on to them throughout this offseason, I'm willing to drop these guys for any number of these 5 running backs on this list. I will be doing a video like this every week during the season, so if you're not yet, please consider subscribing to this channel for videos like this and much more to help you guys dominate your Dynasty leagues this year. And to help you even more with that, here are 5 tips for you to keep in mind during the 2022 NFL season.